Today's CrossFit Open Workout is 12.3. It's an 18-minute AMRAP of 15 box jumps, 12 push presses, then 9 toes to bar. RX box jumps are men's 24-inch, women 20-inch, and the push press weight is 115 for the men and 75 for the women. For Masters RX, the box is 20-inch for both men and women, and step-ups are allowed, and the push press weight is 95 and 55.
I want to start off by saying that if it sounds like I have a little bit of a cold, it's because I've got a little bit of a cold. As a matter of fact, I debated on whether to make this video right now, but despite my best efforts to talk myself out of it, I figured the show must go on, which is pretty much the theme of this workout. There's really nothing that's particularly difficult about this workout, but it is 18 minutes long and uses all the major parts of the body. And once again, I'm using step-ups in this workout in lieu of box jumps. The 2024 Open is coming soon, so I want to make sure that I save the knees for that. I've also opted for the wooden box this time. And yeah, that's me checking to see how many reps I need to do. So you know I totally have my head in the game right now. And I guess I was also thinking about getting the chalk bucket out while I was doing the step-ups, because that was the first thing I went for as soon as I was done. And then I didn't use it. Yeah, 100% with it. I guess starting out, you don't really need chalk, but I guess I was just planning for the future because this does get pretty grippy. Did I mention it's 18 minutes long? I've done a couple reps, and probably by now you've noticed that I'm not doing push press, but I'm doing push jerks. This is another situation where the description says push press, but the standards actually call it out as essentially a shoulder to overhead. It doesn't matter how you get it up there, you just have to start from the front rack and end up locked out overhead. I also noticed that I started getting into my toes on these jerks, as people often do, but I must have realized that because it looks like I corrected it pretty quick. I guess now is as good a time as any to chalk up. That's our unofficial rogue chalk bucket. We spent all of our money on bumper plates and barbells. We had to cut corners somewhere. And as I approach the rack, I'm totally not looking at the whiteboard trying to memorize the rep scheme. And now we're at the actual scaled portion of the workout. As I've mentioned before, our rack really isn't set up for me to do toes to bar. So when I'm actually able to do toes to bar, we'll have to address that. And even though I am scaling these, I am trying to do my highest level of progression. That means high knees and feet together, as much as possible. Yeah, how many times am I going to look at the whiteboard? Regardless, that's the first round done. Unbroken, of course, because I'm still unable to pace. So let's get this thing sped up so everybody can get on with the rest of their day. And I know I've said this before, but I don't necessarily consider step-ups easier, but they are a lot easier on my knees. So maybe we'll just start calling them kneesier. Oh god, I'm sorry. Please don't unsubscribe. So now I'm back to the barbell, and I think everything is starting to click, and I'm not just talking about my hips and knees. I haven't needed to look at the whiteboard for the past minute or so. I didn't have to start these shoulder to overheads all doubled over and gasping for air, and I'm toying around with the idea of doing the second round unbroken. Did anyone even notice I was still wearing my glasses? I sure didn't. I must have considered that first rep to be a wind-up because I didn't really count it. I say that because I generally don't do more than I have to. So now we're into the third round. Step-ups are still looking pretty good. I don't really have a good reason for why I used the wood box this time, other than I just didn't want to have to dig the foam box out. Both boxes have their pros and cons, so the wooden box won by proximity. At this point of the workout, things are actually feeling pretty good right now. I'm starting to sweat, I'm a little bit winded, and if I were to guess, I'm probably in zone 3. That is, of course, if I remembered to start my watch. I've also decided to break these shoulder to overheads into sets, and that was more of an audible and not so much a planned strategy. I think for me, the shoulder to overheads were the most taxing part of this particular workout. So I tried to do the hanging knee raises and the step-ups as close to unbroken as possible. I'm sure this would be a completely different workout if I was actually doing toes to bar and box jumps. Now I'm in round 4 and still stepping up like a champ. I'm still trying to find a way to be maybe a little more efficient with these step-ups. I have a fairly efficient method for step-up overs, but that doesn't translate very well to just step-ups. And just when you thought I was done with those, I'm gonna do another because I lost count. Now this is what you're used to seeing. Me starting off my set being all doubled over and stuff. I mean, if I'm not doing that, am I even working out? So normally if I break things into 2 sets, I like for the first set to be bigger than the second set. I think it's just more psychological than anything. I don't know that there's any real benefit to it because I also seem to take a large break between the first and second sets. I'll find a way to hone that method one of these days. So one of the things that I found difficult to do with these hanging knee raises is keep my feet together while I'm doing them. And I'm not doing a great job of that here, but it is better than it has been. So I'm now 4 rounds into this and I still have about 7 minutes left. And although it doesn't feel like I'm pacing this workout, my transition times are enormous. I think my main focus before I even started this workout was to just get it done. And I think I may have leaned into that a little too hard, as made evident by those transition times. Even though the rep scheme is 15-12-9, the time you spend at each station is fairly short. So you could really rack up the rounds and reps on this one if you decided to bury the needle. It's pretty obvious I did not go whole ham on this, but this particular workout wasn't really all that inspiring to me. But in true Gym4Muscles fashion, I wanted to do better than good. I wanted it to be good enough, and I feel like I accomplished that. So I don't feel that the shoulder to overhead is my strongest lift, but I feel like I'm holding my own on these. 95 pounds isn't super heavy, but it's also not super light. Not to mention the effect that these little gyms have on my shoulders. Something else that I do with these hanging knee raises is lean back and push down with my lats. That's also part of the progression. And here I'm 5 rounds down and into the 6th round. Still looking pretty strong on those step-ups. I seem to remember tripping on one of these, but I don't remember where I did that. It must be coming up. I honestly don't remember. Usually several days pass from the time I do the workout to the time I edit, so it could have been in a different workout. That's totally possible too. Wow, this is only the 2nd time that I've used the chalk bucket so far. Either I just keep forgetting to use it or I don't really need it. Either one of those scenarios is completely possible. And I know I said when I break these into 2 sets, I like for the first set to be more, but I think I've been doing these 8 and 4 or 9 and 3. I have no idea the logic behind that, but it evidently worked. As I watch these videos back while editing, I see all these little quirks that I have. There's too many to mention in this video, but I've honestly been trying to fix those. I swear I'd knock minutes off these workouts if I just knuckled down and focused on those. So that's 6 rounds down, and now we're into the last minute of the workout. And I'm not sure that I'm actually aware of that, as I'm not really moving any faster. Sometimes it's best not to look at the clock. Nope, there it is. Nothing spectacular, but it could have been worse. At least there wasn't any blood, so I don't have to change this to a PG-13 video. It's also nice to know that I've got my security blanket with me, you know, just in case something really bad does actually happen. I know that as far as the last minute of work goes, this probably isn't all that exciting. But if I remember correctly, I believe at the time I was pretty jazzed. This 18-minute workout that seemed to drone on for hours was finally coming to an end. And although I really do like these triplet workouts, this one turned out to be nothing short of a grind. I highly recommend you try it. So we end this one with 6 chips on the floor. So that's 6 rounds plus the 12 step-ups. Not too bad for the 60% effort that I put into it. Stay tuned for Open Workout 12.4.